Usually I would do an intro, but we could just keep continuing talking. Hey guys, what's
You
up?
just
We're
jump right in.
here. Yeah, me and Stupendous Wave. We're chilling, we're talking, and we were having conversation behind the scenes, and now I hit record. So, anyways, let's just continue the conversation. And of course, you can find him at the Stupendous Wave, and I'll link everything in the description. So, um,
I
yeah.
appreciate that, man.
Anyways,
It's an honor to be here.
of course, and it's a long time due that we're actually speaking. So I'm genuinely really excited to just
Yeah, me too.
shoot the crap with you and see where the combo goes. Content creation, Star Wars, everything in general. What were we just talking about before I hit record?
We're talking about targeted, unjust harassment, because that's what it is. If you have
Right.
a Star Wars take and people go after you like really aggressively, and when I say really aggressively, I don't mean they're calling someone an idiot. I mean like aggressive. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's stuff on Twitter that is, you use the word vile, and I think that that's the best word for it. It's vile. You
Right.
can't say that to people. It's not
No.
okay.
No. Yeah.
Um,
Would you
and you
say you've
can't
dealt
take
with
away.
a lot of
Go
this?
ahead. Sorry, man.
No.
No, I haven't dealt with a lot of this at all.
Yeah.
Which is why I haven't said anything for so long. I just felt
Yeah.
that, these people have livelihoods and they have people that are depending on them. It's easy to look at a channel as like an entity and not a person. But if you're more familiar with YouTube, it's not just a person, it is a lot of people that are really passionate and really have dedicated their lives to it. And the idea
Right.
that you could target something like that and want to destroy it, like,
Yeah.
why would anybody even want to destroy that? That's the thing that like confuses me. It's okay if you feel differently about something.
Yeah.
If somebody has a different opinion, that doesn't mean that they need to be destroyed. If anything, it
No.
would lead to interesting conversation, but that's not
Right.
that's not a path.
No. Yeah. It's a very like Sith kind of way of thinking. It's like if you're not with me, then you're my enemy. It's like, well, then maybe it's just a different opinion. Like it's kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think what like something we were talking about before I hit record was like how you don't show your face, and that was kind of like how I started the channel 2 years or something um in, and I feel like it just takes a complete different face. Like the whole thing just kind of changes in a sense for good and bad. But I guess when you do show your face, you just kind of like open yourself up to more criticism in a sense. Um, but even you still say that you do face that sometimes on
Yeah.
Twitter, and I guess we are the largest creators on the planet for Star Wars, which is pretty cool. Um, so I guess
It's
it'll
like
always
the
invite
biggest
that.
blessing ever.
Yes and no.
Oh, I guess I can speak from my perspective. It's a big blessing for me. I'm sure it comes with a lot. I'm not sure. I see the tribulation that comes with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You never like. How did you start? Let's just take it back to we can open up to everything else. How did you even start this? Because you would never expect, like, you never know what you're going to get when you get to this size or whatever. Like you don't know any of this stuff. Like with um
Yeah.
anything that goes into it, really. Like not even just the bad stuff, but the good stuff too. Like you have no idea. So it just kind of like starts with making videos. And I know that you made Jurassic Park videos first,
Hmm.
and so I would love to hear about your story, man.
Yeah. I mean, I've never spoken about it in depth before, so I'm really excited to get to talk about it now.
Cool.
So I am a Clone Wars kid. That is my like that is what I sunk my teeth into when I
Yeah.
was, 10, 11.
Yeah.
And I remember on YouTube seeing these stop motion videos of Star Wars characters and just being like, that is the coolest thing I have ever seen. So my grandpa at the time, he went out and he got me a camera, and he was old. He's an older Marine, doesn't know
Cool.
anything about YouTube, but like he was going to
Right.
try and he was going to
Yeah.
learn because his grandson wanted to, take pictures of his Legos and make him move.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my first ever YouTube channel was set up by him in 2010. And I think it was something like Lego Oppress. because Savage Opress was just
Savage,
the
yeah.
coolest guy ever
Yeah,
when
yeah,
I
yeah,
was a
yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
I was like, he's Darth Maul, but yellow and jacked. Give me
Yeah.
more of that, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I tried my hand at stop motion like twice. Um,
Yeah.
Turns out it's much more difficult than you would think. But as a 10-year-old, you think you can, you're going to try your hand at it anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
but in terms of this YouTube channel, I was working at a grocery store in 2014. It was my first big job.
Mhm.
I think I was putting green beans in some lady's bag. And was looking over to my coworker and they're like, "Hey, how's your day been? Are you excited for anything?" And I was like, "Yeah, like Disney just bought Star Wars and there's like a new
Yeah.
Darksider and he's apparently not Sith."
Yeah.
And I'm just so hyped. And I
Yeah.
didn't know a lot about Star Wars at this point. I
Yeah.
consumed everything surface level. This was before any of the books.
Yeah.
But my coworker looked at me and she was like, "I just kind of asked that to be nice. I don't really want to talk about Star Wars." And I was like, "Oh, all right.
Okay.
Well, where am I going to talk about it?" And then it was like, "Oh, the internet is just blossoming on YouTube now, and all these people are so, invested in Jurassic World and invested in
Yeah.
Marvel and invested in Star Wars."
Yeah.
And no one in my circle gave a shit about any of that stuff,
Yeah.
which they
I
all
know.
do now. But I don't know if you ever experienced that. What was like the landscape for you in like 2014?
2014, I was 24. I'm just gonna move you over here. It's easier for my eye. I got punched in the face last night at boxing, so it's like my eye's a little swollen. I don't know if you can tell, but
Dude, I've
um,
been seeing that. That looks. I did one training boxing session once. The coach
yeah.
was like, "It's like running a 5K, but someone's punching you in the face while you're doing it." And I
And
was
your
like,
adrenaline's
"That
going,
sounds
and you're just
awful."
out of breath, and like, yeah, yeah, it's interesting. But anyways, um, yeah, in 2014, I was 24 years. Oh, how old are you? You don't have
I'm
to divulge
27
that.
now.
27. Oh, dude, right on. We're
Yeah.
like around the same age.
Yeah.
So I'm 34 now. Um, so yeah, I was 24. Uh, I was I was wanting to be a pro power lifter at that point. I was like hell bent on that's all I cared about. I was working at a supplement store and I was working on my real estate license and I just didn't really care about anything else in life. I just wanted to be like a pro power lifter. That's all I wanted. And then but I always like had Star Wars was like my biggest interest as a kid and at that time I knew The Force Awakens was coming out a year later, and so I remember when I saw it, I did a video review in my car just, like, for Facebook for, like, my, like, friends that were on there or whatever. I don't know where that video is, but after that, I just turned to your videos, to be honest. I was watching your stuff, and I would fall asleep watching your videos. I just found them relaxing, and I've never told anyone this, but
That's
I
awesome.
then when The Force Awakens came out in 2016, I had an idea of like just like a theory on who Snoke was, and I was like, okay, well, I'll
Yep.
just make a channel. I'll call it Star Wars Theory, and just make a video for fun. And I was seeking that, like you said, engagement with a Star Wars community because when I was a teenager, I spent all my time on Star Wars forums, just different ones. One in particular was FX Sabers, and it was so freaking cool just to have it's like a few people comment,
Yeah.
after I made the video. I forgot about it for 3 to 4 weeks, and then I looked back, and I was like, "Whoa, there's freaking views!" There's like 2 or 300 views, and then there were comments, and people were, like, having their own theories about Snoke or whoever, and I'm just like, "This is really amazing," and so I just kept making videos, and, but that's where I was around that time. I hadn't made the channel until so you made your channel in 2014?
I think something it may have been 2013 as far back when it comes from like the
Wow.
channel from 2013 to like 2017, that's just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. That's
Yeah,
not like
yeah.
that's not like really going into lore and really trying to make sure it's right or like really
No.
anything
Yeah.
that had to do with analytics. It's just like, oh, I read this here and I researched it. Do you guys think this is cool? I think this is cool. I wasn't
Yeah.
monetized till I hit 30,000 subscribers because I just didn't know how and I just didn't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
Um, I just wanted to talk to people. But it's interesting
Yeah.
that you brought up Snoke, man, because um, that was one of my big videos too, was like this a Snoke Darth Plagueis theory. And I
Yeah. Yeah.
remember walking in the snow, listening to the Darth Plagueis novel,
Yeah.
and remembering like the three pieces of information about Snoke that we got, like the three things they
Yeah.
told
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
saw the
Yeah.
rise and fall of the
Yeah.
Empire.
Yeah.
He is been in the unknown regions, and he's like more powerful than Palpatine or something. I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but that was like
Yeah.
the three things.
Yeah.
And oh, and he's horribly disfigured. So there you go.
And
This
yeah,
was
his,
when
like, bones are yeah, and there was that
yeah,
one thing, that they had at Disneyland or something like that, Star Tours or something, where they had Kylo Ren's lightsaber, and then they had, like, based on an ancient design or something like that. So I think you and I
yeah,
both were just going off of, like, "Hey, like, Snoke's ancient, like, this design's ancient." Like, "Okay, well, we're just trying to figure out a bunch of different stuff." I think everyone at that point was just like, any Snoke video just blew up
blew
because
up.
everyone wanted to know, "Who is this guy?"
And guess what? It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. Your Snoke theory sucks.
um, yeah, no. Oh gosh, why?
Yeah.
Um, but I remember listening to the Darth Plagueis novel, and I was like, "There's no way this guy isn't Darth Plagueis. Like, come on." That like
Yeah.
saw the rise of the Empire, ancient Darksider, stronger than Palpatine, horrifically disfigured. I remember even. Do you remember like the art that people would draw of like a tiny Snoke on Kylo Ren's back? Did you ever
No.
see that? I thought
No.
that that was so awesome, where it was like a contrast of Luke and Yoda, where it's like,
Oh, what the hell? I didn't see this. That's funny.
yeah, no, I thought that was so cool. And I remember thinking people would hate that, but I kind of like that, but I can never say that I like that.
That's hilarious. What, like, Snoke is actually miniature? Could you
Yeah,
imagine?
yeah, like Yoda sized.
I never even thought of that. That's freaking that'd be wild.
Yeah, that
That'd
would
be
be
too on
wild.
the nose, though. I mean, it's just like them trying to really or I feel like the sequels already were too, they were replicating a lot from the first 3 films, 4, 5, and 6. And I feel like
Yeah.
with The Force Awakens, it was very, like, 4, 5, and 6 kind of all in one,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I it's unfortunate what happened with it, but I hope that they'll make better stuff going forwards. What is your actual, consensus about everything going on right now with
Oh
Star Wars?
boy, right now this is not we're in the dark times, dude. Like it is the dark times right now.
Yeah, yeah,
The Acolyte was just one of the worst things I've ever seen. Um, not even like worse in terms of like Star Wars worse, but like as is like a TV show. Now that's not an attack on anybody because if you gave me that money and told me to make a TV show, I would do so much worse than that. I'm not asking for that, but
I don't think so. I don't think you
thank
would.
you for saying.
I don't
I
think you would.
thank you for saying that. I just think that I love the Sith, man, and
Yeah,
for a Sith to just roll up on like what is it, 7 Jedi, and then it was your point where it's like Yoda doesn't sense any of this, and then
yeah,
I was rewatching Attack of the Clones, and Yoda is sensing Anakin's pain, and it's just like these people don't care. It's
no,
not even that they're not informed. I just don't think they care. They look
no,
at stuff that is so, you know, precious to us. And I understand that there's the whole argument of just because you love something doesn't mean you own it, which is fine, but I can own my opinion at least. Give me that.
yeah,
Um, I just thought the Acolyte was not what Star Wars needed, and it really hurt because it's my favorite part of Star Wars, if that makes sense.
yeah. No, I know you're a big Sith guy, and I
I
really wanted to see that too.
I just the Darth Plagueis, if you everyone I should read that novel, but he is a savant, he is a scientist, he is a man of culture and intellect,
Yeah,
and to have him like peek out of a cave tells you everything that you need to know about the Acolyte. Uh,
I know. I
and
was
I think Skeleton Crew better rock, or else people are going to be, upset.
well. I'm actually looking forward to Skeleton Crew because I just think it's going to be like a cute, fun little story. I don't think there's really anything there that's going to be lore breaking or potentially lore breaking, but I could be wrong. But as for right now, it just looks like a fun little story.
Yeah, it does look fun. I don't hate the idea of like a more modern, kind of suburban
Yeah.
neighborhood in Star Wars. I think that's
No, I don't mind it.
a really interesting idea, honestly.
Yeah. Like, how
Yeah,
does that not exist? It's
yeah, exactly.
freaking galaxy. Like, it's, you're telling me there
And I
aren't
like Jude
homes and
Law.
yeah.
Yeah. It was like, what would my house look like in Star Wars? Because you see videos all over the place, which are great, by the way, of like why it would suck to live in Star Wars. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
dude, it would suck.
Yeah.
Um, but
Depends where
getting to
you're
live
at,
in
I
like that,
guess.
yeah, no, I think Coruscant would be bad, personally.
Coruscant would be really bad. It would be like New York 1,000 years from now, probably,
Yeah, just the fact that there's
if
just
we're
that
still here.
one piece. Hopefully,
Yeah.
dude, my goodness.
Yeah, that'd be nice, you know? Well, you and I probably won't be, but
To our posterity, then.
yeah, to our kin, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I hope they turn it around and just hire some more. I don't want to even say competent. I just want to say like passionate people who are just like understand Star Wars. And the way I think of it is, if they just had the idea that when they're writing something, George Lucas is watching over their shoulder at what they're writing, like, would he vibe with that? And I feel like you kind of have to have that, you know, in your mind when you're creating a new story, like continuing on what he created. But I don't think
Yeah,
they do. So I don't know.
that's really interesting. I actually, I feel a little bit differently about that than you do, I think.
Okay.
I think that a lot of the expanded material and the lore that George Lucas wasn't directly involved in and is also great. But I think what you're saying when George looking over the shoulder is you have to keep the importance of the themes in play. Your video
Yeah.
earlier today, where you spoke about the themes of, fatherhood and adventure and hope and
Yeah.
being overwhelmed, those core things need to be there. But I do like the idea of just breaking this universe wide open, if you know what I
Mhm.
mean.
I know what you mean. No,
Um,
I agree with that. I think, yeah, as you said, I'm mainly just speaking about the general themes and like what Star like the rules within Star Wars of like how Jedi should act and the Force and this and that and the other thing. But other than that, no, I don't
yeah,
think we should be like beholden to just the Skywalker saga or just the certain timeline. Just open it all up. Go wherever you want, do whatever you want, but just keep kind of the confines or the set rules with the Force and the Jedi.
yeah, you're right. You know what I think it is? I think you have a lot of investment in this story, and that they have very intentionally kept it tied to George Lucas in terms of like his characters and his
Yeah,
the landscape that he establishes, but they're not getting the tone and the theme right, which you're absolutely correct about.
yeah,
And that's just unfortunate because I am with you. I would like it to break open. And I'm interested in seeing, what the Jedi were like beforehand. But the idea of like the Jedi and the Acolyte that is supposed to be this era of, the Jedi have it right. That there's a reason
yeah,
it's called the High Republic. And for them
yeah,
to just operate like amateurs in
yeah.
the Acolyte is just crazy. Like Soul is not calling anybody, and he just fought a Sith Lord. He just fought a Sith Lord. He's not telling anybody.
I know. No, I know, and they all kind of know about it, and they know, in what was it, the second episode or something, where Vernestra was talking about how a fallen student is killing all of the Jedi, or is killing Jedi, and that she was trained by someone else. It's like, well, all right, clearly this should be brought to the attention of the entire council and everybody so that they know about it. But they just, well, we're going to keep this under wraps. Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
And it was interesting to watch because the whole audience was like, all these Jedi are gonna die, just wait. And then to like watch some of them get away and have an opportunity to break it open and just decide not to tell anybody.
I know, dude. I know.
Ugh.
I
And
hope it
and
gets
I just
good.
yeah.
I really do. Especially with like the what is it, the Ray movie, and then there's there's the Mando movie, and then the other one, the Dawn of the Jedi.
That's the one I
The
wanna see the most.
I know, me too. Like, are they going to talk about the Jedi? Or are they going to talk about the Thoyor and Titan and all that, or are they going to do something completely just made up? Well, I guess all made up, but new.
I hope that they do what they did before. I love the idea of like a grand pilgrimage to an era of enlightenment. I think that's
Mhm.
so beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, and if they just like get rid of that and it's just some guy in like a bar who, discovers he has force power or something. I don't
Oh,
know. I'm just thinking of the worst way
I
possible.
know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. It's
But
who is it? James Mangold? That guy did,
yeah,
Logan, right?
that is like that might be my favorite superhero movie besides The
Yeah,
Dark Knight. But I think
yeah.
Logan is a masterpiece. That's why like seeing the new Indiana Jones movie was like, "Oh,
I didn't even see it.
well, I wouldn't if I
Heard it
were
was bad.
you."
I think Logan, The Dark Knight, and did you like Man of Steel?
You know what? I get bullied all the time for liking Man of Steel.
I loved it. I would say those are
I
my top 3: The Dark Knight, Man of Steel, and Logan.
the Superman's first flight in that movie is just so like well done and just the best word for that is just cinematic.
Yeah, especially with the music that was swelling and how he just, like, and then he goes like this, and he just goes with one hand, and it's just like
Yeah.
oh my
Oh,
gosh, it was,
or
yeah,
when his
chill.
fist is on the ground and it's like he's like gathering like kinetic energy.
Yeah, literally, literally.
Oh,
It was so
that's so
cool.
cool.
And see,
Say
it's
what
just
you
so
will about
important,
Zack
like,
Snyder, but visually he's incredible. You can't take
visually,
it.
yeah, dude, like, you can't, I don't know. I don't know what people's qualms are with the Man of Steel. I know Mahler and stuff, they have their they have their opinions on it, but I thought it was just amazing. I wouldn't change a
I
thing
will
about it.
say,
Well, the ending,
yeah,
that's about it.
I kind of like the ending too, man. I mean, the whole
Really? With
decision of
him
like,
killing Zod?
yeah, like you had to make a choice, and he's put in this horrible situation, and I think it does a lot for Zod's character, which is something that you forget, like people tend to forget about. Is like he's so desperate that he is not even trying
Yeah,
to win at this point. He's just trying to take.
right.
And I think that that can kind of work. I do not like Batman versus Superman. I will say that.
No, I wasn't a big fan of that one.
I remember hating that movie, dude. I remember
Yeah.
getting in
Yeah.
the car with my friends and hating that thing.
It's always entertaining seeing them together on the same screen, just like with Kenobi, seeing Hayden and Ewan again. What'd you, think of that?
I thought that the Kenobi series had nuggets of gold,
Yeah.
sunk in shit. Uh,
Oh my god.
I think that there were really, really, really great moments that are like,
Oh,
there's no way the person that did this did that other stuff too. Like the whole
yeah.
last confrontation emotionally with Obi-Wan and
Mhm,
Vader is some of my favorite Star Wars full stop.
mhm.
But then just like what did it cost to get there? And a lot of my feelings about Kenobi, I'm jaded because I'm aware of what has gone on after the fact. So that does impact my overall opinion of it, especially the
Yeah,
fact that it had a lower budget than The Acolyte. That's like something that in my
like half,
reviews for The Acolyte, like
which is
half.
crazy. Yeah.
Alien Romulus, I think, had an $80 million budget. I don't know if you're an Alien fan or if you saw it, but that
I didn't
movie
see the
looks
new one.
incredible.
I didn't see it, but I just saw a post that said it broke the record for IMAX, I think, for sales.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that movie looks incredible. And I was watching it and I was like, there's no way this is half the cost of The Acolyte.
It makes you wonder,
Uh,
where's all the money going? Like, there wasn't even that much CGI in The Acolyte to
no, there's not.
even, 180 million bucks, like, hmm.
That's an absurd amount of money.
Yeah, like, were there rewrites, or, like, did Leslie just pay herself a giant,
What
handsome
was
paycheck? Like,
Ah, I
I
hope
don't
that's
know.
not what happened. That would be
I don't know.
so sad.
I don't know. Was
I
it a
know,
write-off for them? No idea.
maybe it could have been a write-off. I just think all this bring back the acolyte stuff is very interesting to me. It's interesting how like Star Wars has evolved and the fans have evolved along with Star Wars. Um, and it's like we all love this
Evolved.
thing, but we're separated,
It
evolved, yeah, devolved,
devolved.
if you will. Um, we all they are finding stuff in the acolyte that they enjoy, and I'm not going to say that 100% of the acolyte is just the worst thing I've ever seen, because it's not, but it is not, it's not very good. And I'm a person that doesn't entertain TV shows or movies unless I'm very interested in them. I don't know if
Yeah.
you're that way at all.
Yeah, same. Same.
So
I'm the exact
I
same.
won't
Um,
consume media if I'm not interested in it.
yeah, like I've said, I think time is the most valuable thing we have, and if I'm not gonna waste my time watching something I just don't think is very good, unless it's like, Star Wars or whatever in that case, but,
Yeah,
um,
that's different. You
uh
have a responsibility to, the fan
well, yeah,
base.
that's our thing at this point, it's our jobs, which is so weird and bizarre to think about,
Yeah.
but, hey, I assume you wake up the same way I wake up, just super happy, we get to do this for a living.
Dude, it is beautiful.
Yeah,
A lot of the reason why back in the day I was not wanting to meet up with a lot of people. First off, I was terrified because I was like 18, and I think everyone was older. And I
yeah,
just gotten out of high school, and I was trying to figure out how to like pay a water bill. I didn't want to have to like go to a convention and have to deal with a whole bunch of
yeah,
more energy, if you will.
right.
But I was always content with my corner of the playroom. You know,
Yeah. You know what? You always stuck to yourself and you just did your thing and it's respectable.
but I'm
Um,
glad that it's not that way now. I'm glad that there was true, real solidarity among a lot of people, and this whole experience has been like just overwhelmingly really positive because a lot of my fears for not engaging in things were, a lot of these people seem really aggressive and really unwelcoming, and they're not interested in any sort of discourse. They just want you to share their opinion or they want you destroyed.
mm,
Um, but that's not the case after, some stuff on Twitter. Just people that are Star Wars fans that are incredibly, incredibly intelligent people.
yeah.
Um, and just incredibly kind. So I'm glad that the playroom has opened up, if you will.
Well, thank you so much for being so vocal about, what everything that happened with Star Wars Explained and whatnot. And like I said before we were recording, you could have just been quiet. And you weren't. You were quite outspoken and I thank you for that. I really respect that and I appreciate that because it wouldn't say maybe it's easier, but it might be easier for someone who doesn't really have any sort of foot in the door with like what you do online and what I do online. So if it's like a regular Twitter person who's just like supporting, it's like that's amazing. But with a lot of content creators, they think, oh, what's the blowback going to be if I choose this side over the other side, or if I say this or if I say that? And I hate that. I think it's so weak when people do that. And I just love the fact that you spoke your mind and you're supportive, and it means a lot, especially of someone of your stature in the community.
Well, thank you for saying that. That means a lot to me too. And I'll just go ahead and reiterate what I said off recording. When when you threaten to like take someone's livelihood, it's easy to look at these channels as entities and not people.
Yeah,
But that's what they are. They are people. And it's not just the voice, it's other people behind the scenes. It's people that rely on those people. And to take that away or to even suggest that it should be taken away is just number one, it's immoral. Um, and you said it today on Twitter, I think. There's no reason why we think that they shouldn't exist either. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to create and have lives for themselves and be prosperous. There's nothing wrong with that. But
no,
what is wrong is when you like attempt to encroach on other people's livelihood. And that just was not, it goes beyond not cool. And I don't want to say that it's unmendable. I can only speak for myself, but I would say it's unfortunate.
uh, I would go a step further. I would say it's unmendable because at that point, it's you can take the whole. All right, well, they disagree on your opinions, no problem. You can take the whole they gatekeep because if you don't have the opinions they do, then they'll try and cancel you. But when they try to really pull the plug and take away, you know, essentially, it's. I mean, what? How else would you describe it? If they were successful, they would. How would anyone pay for anything? How would they pay
Yeah.
for their home? How would they pay for their food? Like everything's just gone because someone lies and wants to take away. It doesn't even matter if there is like disregarding the fact that their claims were bullshit against me. The
Yeah.
fact that that was their intention was to take away the ability to live, the ability to pay for your life, to eat. It's that's just a different level of maliciousness that it goes beyond like okay, friendly competition. It goes beyond anything sort of moral or human. It's just now like I want you to end like because you are doing better than me or because you whatever. I want you like the answer is never to kill someone and take away
No.
everything they've worked for. You can simply
No.
disagree. You can make videos about them and come up with points why you disagree with their opinions on certain things. But to want to take away everything that they've worked for is, I think it's just very vile. I think it's a very just not a place that you want to be as a human. So,
Yeah. No,
I
you
yeah,
are right. No, you are right. And I could be sometimes it's hard for me because it's like I have not experienced the level of animosity that you have to a single percentage. Like I'm not kidding. You have gotten more, harassment because again, that's what it is. Let's use the word of what it is. It's harassment.
yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there are people out there with your case, if you said, I'm not interested in mending anything, this is just wrong and that is how I feel. There's nothing wrong with that, man. There's nothing
Well,
wrong with
I
that.
think it's because, Alex has done that so many times in the past with his, This Week in Clickbait and all
Yeah,
this and
that
that.
was not cool back in the that was not cool.
Just yeah, you remember that too, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, dude, that is wild. It's like it's just been this constant sort of thing, and then he'll apologize, and then he'll do it again, or his wife will do it again, and it's just
Yeah.
two times too many. And the amount of bad mouthing that he did of you in the beginning when I didn't know anybody, and just I guess trying to like increase his crew or his clique. It was very cliquey, and so I don't
Yeah.
blame you for wanting to just stay in your lane and not show your face, do your thing, and just not engage in any sort of like public drama or anything, and just make your videos. I mean, that's super commendable. I feel like once I showed my face, I took on a different sort of face of the channel, I guess, and I kind of
Yep.
like it opened people up to saying more things personally, and I'm pretty sure if I remained without showing my face, like how you have, I don't think I would have received nearly as much,
You wouldn't have.
vitriol or harassment.
You wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And I can't speak to any personal experience with Star Wars Explained, Alex or Molly, because I have never had a conversation with them in my entire life. And I've never had a
Really?
conversation. Never. We've never spoken.
Wait, wait, wait.
Um,
So that email where he said you're warming up to him was bullshit?
we corresponded through email. I'm talking like speaking.
Oh, speaking, right.
Yeah, yeah. I could be more clear. We've never spoken like in terms of how you and I are doing it right now.
Oh, gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
And when I went back in Twitter messages just for my own curiosity, because like this is stuff that's like been backlogged in my mind 5 times over.
Yeah.
Um, he was like, "Oh, are you coming to dinner with us?" And I was like, "No, I'm on my way to like a church dance. I think it may have been my prom I was going to."
Cool.
But uh, that was like the last message. Yeah, it was like in 2016, and I think I was on my way to prom, or it was something else.
That's
So.
wild.
Yeah, dude, you see it. It's like so different. Like they were so different than I was at the time. And I just took that, noted it, realized I was in a transitionary period in my life, and realized that maybe more outside factors would not be beneficial.
That's very intuitive of you to see that and just stay away from them. Um, I I didn't. I wish I did, and I wish I never really got. And even the amount of chumminess that I got with them, I regret that. So you were ahead of the ball there, my friend.
Hey man, we all do things that we look back on and it's like, ah, why did I do that? Why was I doing, why was I
I think I'm just,
operating like
yeah.
this?
I think I'm just, I'm the way I started was a just very naive boy, just very, very open hearted, and no one has ill intentions kind of thing. and then you
Yeah.
just kind of learn. You just kind of figure it out as you get older. Um, that yeah,
Yeah.
there are ulterior motives to things, and
It
you just
was,
adjust accordingly.
yeah, you do, and you've adjusted really well. I think it's, proof
Mm,
with the 2 of us that you do not need to conform to, that I don't wanna use the word agenda, but I'm gonna use the word agenda,
yeah,
to be successful. I mean, you're proof of that, my
yeah,
channel's proof of that, and I
mhm.
hope that other people that are wanting to make YouTube channels or want to talk about Star Wars keep that in mind, is that you do not have to agree with people to grow. It is
No,
not a necessity.
no, it's crazy because when I started, it was you and a few others, and when you started, it was probably just you, and um, or maybe it was Star Wars Explained as well. I'm not sure, but
You know who I remember? I remember, like, Evan Nova, Jen Sarai 1, Anton Bandalay. Those are my Star Wars, like, guys back in the day.
Antoine,
Yeah, they would do the
Antoine.
Versus series because, like, that was
Oh no, I'm thinking of someone else, Vendetta or something.
oh, Vincent
Okay,
Vendetta.
Vincent Vendetta, that guy.
Yeah.
Mace Windu is Snoke or something like that. I remember.
That video was outlandish, but if you
That was
watch it,
wild.
that was a banger. The
That was
video is a
wild.
banger.
Do you remember Qui-Gon Josh?
I don't.
Oh, okay. He was there for like a minute
When was that?
at 2016, and then he vanished.
I remember Dash Star. I spoke
Yeah,
with Dash Star once,
I just
I
spoke with him
think.
a few weeks ago.
Really? I hope he's doing I always thought he had such great potential.
Yeah, well, no, he sold his channel, and then he started a new channel called Dark Lore Dash.
Oh, is he still, like, producing
Yeah,
videos?
yeah. It's all about oh, what's that game? Gosh, it's not Warhammer. It's it it's got Diablo. Yeah.
Dude, the last game I played was, like, Jedi Survivor, and I turned it off because it was too hard on Padawan.
Oh
I do not play video games,
my
dude.
gosh.
I'm terrible.
You
I
gotta
bought
start streaming.
Battlefront 2.
You gotta start streaming, man. You gotta like, well, you don't have to, but I think it would be you could just keep doing your thing with the Mauler thing and keep streaming that way, I guess. But um, it's
Yeah.
interesting, bro. Like when you do show your face, it honestly is such a different experience because it's like that veil is taken off, and it's like you're kind of naked. You're like, all right, well, hey, and then you get so used to it, and it's just like going back to what you were saying about new content creators wanting to they feel like they have to say the perfect thing or they don't want to be ostracized by anyone in the community and like I just think that's just it's such total bullshit because they're attaching the opinions of others to them being successful and then in the end they're going to keep kind of corralling their opinions to what they think the mob wants or what people want and then in the end they just become so far removed from where they actually intended to be that they're like somebody else now at this point and it's a very slippery slope in that sense. So, um, I think you and I are kind of not the only, but one of the only ones that just stick true to how we feel. And if we, we're living examples of like just speaking your mind. And sometimes you know, people don't like it. Sometimes people do like it. But at the end of the day, it's respectable because you're just another person and you stand by what you think. And you're not an industry shill kind of thing where you just say what you think people want to hear.
Yeah. And I was always really intimidated by, like, the politics of Lucasfilm. Um,
What do you mean?
uh, like, just whispers of, like, you have if you want to be involved with things, you must conform to a certain, like, way in terms of,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
content you're making. And I
Yeah.
made a decision that, like, that wasn't important to me. First, I'm sure that those events are wonderful, but they look really stressful for me. I don't know how you would feel like, but I would be stressing like crazy that I would say something wrong or incorrect. And that's not who I want to be.
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at that stuff is like what I was saying off air was like, I say what I say, and if they don't like it, they don't like it.
Yeah.
Tough. Oh well.
Yeah, that's good advice. I
You
mean,
know? Yeah. Like I just honestly like, pardon my French, I just don't give a shit what anyone really thinks of. I mean, I'm not out here hurting anyone or saying anything horrible. It's just,
Yeah, that's why it's so
just the way it is.
unfortunate because like some of the stuff on Twitter is just like you you can't write that, man. Like, are you okay? Like, there are messages out there so bad that it makes me concerned for the individual that wrote them, if that makes sense. Like,
I don't know,
concerned of
bro.
like their well-being.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'm so numb to it.
That's so unfortunate. Why does
I'm
it have to be
so
like
numb
that?
to it.
Ugh.
I've had people call my dad. I've had people send pictures of like, women I was with in relationships saying, we're going to do this and that and to her, and it it's it's an interesting place, but at this point, I don't know, nothing surprises me anymore. It's just very I'm just very numb to it.
Yeah. Dang, that is unfortunate.
It's
I'm
weird.
really sorry that that has happened.
I don't
I
know.
just
It's just the way it is, I guess. Just
if
people like
anyone
that are
called
out
my
there.
mom, they would regret it because she dude,
Yeah.
she was like wondering what was going on Twitter because she was visiting me,
Yeah.
and I put on the TV your video about
Yeah.
Star Wars Explained, and she was like, "You need to talk to him right now."
Yeah.
It's like he sounds like he's got his stuff together, and it's like, "Mom, can I just finish the video?"
Yeah. Well, hey man, if that's the one of the good things that comes out of this is that you and I link up, that'd be cool. Be really
Yeah,
awesome. Um, but I mean, it's been a
it's
long
just
time coming, and
unfortunate. You can't harass people online. You can't do it. That's just
it'll never stop. It's like people who say like, "Oh, like bullies need to end." It's like, well, they'll never end. You need to teach your kid how to defend themselves, verbally or physically, like from these attacks, because bullies will never end. I think what is the most laughable is when they play the victim card. So when they poke and then, they slander you or they lie about you and then you answer back in like a very normal, nonchalant way, then they play the victim card. I think that's just
yeah.
very bitch
One
made.
one part about your video with Star Wars Explained that I thought was really interesting, or I guess the whole discourse was, you know, Molly was tweeting about it, but it wasn't on the Star Wars Explained official page or anything. And I think it's a case where everybody sort of knows where this is coming from, but no one has said it yet. And then like you as the biggest voice, you were like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna say it." So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I've dealt with bullies my whole life, in like literally as young as I can remember, and I don't like them. I don't like bullies, and I don't like people. Even more so, I don't like I don't know if they're psychologically smarter or if they're just narcissistic or whatever it might be, or maybe they're dumb. The bullies who bully and then pretend to be the victim, like what I was saying, and that's what
Yeah.
Molly and Alex do. Oh no, these are how dare he show screenshots of? It's like, what? You guys literally tried to pull the plug, and you
Yeah.
guys have been so abusive, and so many other people, and all the freaking death threats I've received because of these people and their rhetoric and their fans that they allegedly send or don't send or whatever it all falls into the same thing, and it's always it's just a weird place. So, I mean, you just got to call it out when you see it. When it gets to the point where it's too much, you're like, hey, you know what? I have a voice too, and yeah, it's about time maybe I say something back. I think that's only fair,
No, that is
but
fair.
I don't know. I guess
Aggressive negotiations.
yeah, literally, dude. I don't know. Right, it's not that deep. It's like, you say something about me, then I defend myself. It's like, well, what's the big deal? Like, what do you expect? Like,
Yeah. Um,
ah,
yeah, I agree. If someone says something about you and you have every right to respond,
yeah,
and you don't threaten people, you just lay it out and
God
you
no.
say, "I disagree with this behavior and this is why."
Right.
And that's just logic.
Yeah.
That's not harassment. Harassment is the stuff that you were talking about earlier. There's a
Yeah. Yeah.
line. People can disagree about Star Wars. That's
Yeah.
completely fine. You
Yeah.
and I'm sure disagree about Star Wars, but it's about the
It's a
discourse and the
disagree with
standard that
my
you hold yourself
parents
to.
about things.
You do?
That's normal. It, people have different belief systems. People can also change their belief systems. People can also change their ideas and their um, um, biases on things over time. So it's I don't know. It's not really that deep. It's just yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, right now, yeah, I'm not into this, or I'm into this. Maybe it'll change later. I don't know. Whatever. Cool. All right. Sweet.
Yeah.
It's
Move
not
on.
that. Yeah. Move on. Kind of thing. So I don't know, man.
Well, I found something in the lore recently that I'm pretty excited to share with you, actually.
Okay.
My buddy and I,
Yeah.
he's the archivist on my channel. So thank you, man. I don't think he wants me to say his name. So thank
Okay.
you, archivist. He found out recently that Tulik Horde could essentially be loosely traced back to the original 12 Dark Jedi from the 100-Year Darkness. And that
How?
absolutely blew my mind. Okay, I'm glad you asked. Uh, there are images of Tulik Horde from of not Tulik Horde, of a red armored individual that arrived with the 12 Dark Jedi to Korriban. And it is said in KOTOR that Tulik Horde's helmet was not initially black, that it turned black and faded over time.
Right.
So if you look at the timeline, I believe the Dark Jedi arrive on Korriban in 5,000 BBY. Or I could be, no, it's 6,900 BBY. That's what it is. Naga Sadow's invasion of the Republic is 5,000 BBY. But if you look up Tulik Horde's birth date, it just says centuries before 5,000 BBY. There's no confirmed or concrete birth date for Tulik Horde. So that got me wondering, because for a long time I thought there was an issue in the lore because it said Tulik Horde repelled a Jedi invasion. Well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense because we know Naga Sadow invaded the Republic after this, and that is sort of hailed as the first great conflict between the Jedi and Sith, right?
Right. So you're
So
saying
I
he's
was
been around there
wondering,
since I'm trying to find this timeline on Google. I can't.
it's so hard. Here, I'm going to send you
If you, well, you
exactly
can
what
you
we
can
wrote.
present as well. You can share screen if you want.
Okay, I will learn how to do that for the future.
Where are you
All
sending
right.
it? Are you sending it on Twitter or
If you send me your
here?
email, I can send that over to you. Here it
Okay.
is. It says, in the golden age of the Sith, issue number 0, there is a warrior in red armor. None of the other 12 Dark Jedi wore any sort of armor like this. Tulik Horde is described in the game files as being blackened with age, meaning that his armor was not originally black in coloration. Tulik Horde may or may not have been a Jedi, but he did fight in the 100-Year Darkness, likely. This is substantiated by the fact that he had a crystal from the world of Balmora that he used in his lightsaber, which was confirmed. If you're interested, he also had a crystal from Alderaan that he used in his lightsaber. It is said that in the 100-Year Darkness, he may have been a part of a battle where the Leviathan were first introduced by Sorza Sin. There's not a lot of information about the 100-Year Darkness conflict, but it does say that the Leviathans were used to break Jedi barriers.
That would be
Now, the
wild.
cool thing about Tulik Horde, dude, and why I think that he is, that guy in all of
Yeah.
the lore, is it is said that he specifically would enter battle and lead his men personally, which apparently was a really uncommon practice for the 12 Dark Jedi. Sorza Sin sort of is in the background, making her Sith monster, the Leviathan. She's not really a battlefield commander,
Hmm.
but Tulik Horde apparently was.
Hmm.
Um, so the theory goes, I guess, if you will, that Tulik Horde may not have been a Jedi because it's never said that he was, but he may have aligned with the Dark Jedi in the 100-Year Darkness and accompanied them to Korriban. What's
Yeah.
interesting about the 12 Dark Jedi is Sorza Sin only names, I think, Karnas Mur, Ajun Tapal, and others. And she
Yeah.
basically says that the other 8 are not worth mentioning, which I think is just
Sounds
hilarious.
salty, man. Yeah.
Dude, so
Especially
salty.
considering the fact that he was like kind of one of the first, I guess, Darksiders that was able to be alive after death, but he was just chained to his tomb,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I mean, I feel like
So
there's just so much stuff that they could make movies and shows on. Are you
it's
thinking that he could
incredible.
potentially be in the Dawn of the Jedi film if they want to go that route?
Dude, I didn't even think about that. That would be insane. If Tula Cord showed up, I think I would freak out in the theater. Like, because his design is great too.
Yeah, he looks so cool.
But I was so after this, after the 12 Dark Jedi are on Korriban, I was so interested in like what caused these 12 individuals to collapse because they seem so powerful and they ushered in such a golden age for the Sith, but it was all their infighting.
Mhm.
So a lot of them died, according to Ajunta Pal when he speaks to Revan, is that they all wanted each other's secrets and that most of them died doing so.
Yeah.
But he also said he was killed with his own sword in ritualistic combat. So
Mhm.
what I think happened was I think that a section of the 12 Dark Jedi wanted to re-invade the Republic, and I think some of them were against that for the time because they didn't feel ready. And I think that Tula Cord, Ajunta Pal, and Darth Endedu, actually, who I also believe you can trace back to the 12,
I
were
think so too.
opposed. That's so cool that you agree. This is
He's
why I
ancient,
wanted to
dude.
talk to you. Yeah, he's so
He's
old.
yeah. Yeah. He's like
But
a freaking mummy.
yeah, he's so that design is so cool too. Like,
I know.
everybody I didn't realize that we hadn't had a new Sith in Star Wars until like the Stranger showed up, and I was like, what have we been doing for 10 years?
I don't
You
know,
know?
man. It's yeah.
But I thought
Whatever.
that was really cool. I thought it was cool that if you want to read really deep into it, maybe To the Cord killed a Junta Pal with his own sword and then
That'd be
was the
wild.
reigning Dark Lord for like 1,000 years after that.
That'd be wild, dude.
Wouldn't that be so cool?
It was like the OG.
Yeah. And so I love the fact that Sorza Sin doesn't even feel the need to mention him. That's just such a petty,
She's
like,
salty,
Sith
man.
fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I thought that was sick, dude, and I wanted to share that. I think that that would be so cool to see on screen.
I mean, I used to think that kind of stuff too, and I'm like, oh well, this would be amazing. That means this and this, and then now I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't even want them to touch these characters because every time they do, they just do something that just doesn't sit right with me, and so I'm just always
Yeah.
now skeptical. I'm like, well, Thrawn didn't really feel all that much Thrawny, um, and all the other characters that they kind of just have messed up. So I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Would you say that for me, Balin is like the massive bright spot recently with Star Wars
In Ahsoka.
editions?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, and I think that Dave Filoni, just the reverence that he has for Lucas and the fact that Lucas was in the room with him, and Filoni was learning firsthand from Lucas while making the Clone Wars
yeah.
is the big through line for me currently.
Hmm. How do you feel about
And
him?
Dave Filoni,
Yeah,
I like him a lot. I'm a
yeah.
big fan of the Last Airbender animated show.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, I grew up with the Clone Wars. I don't think Ahsoka's perfect, but I
Yeah,
think
sure.
it's good.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I was the biggest Dave I mean, a huge Dave Filoni fan until The Acolyte, when I started to kind of realize, like, what in the heck is happening here? Like, what's going on? And I see the argument people make, like, "Oh, this was 2019, The Acolyte was kind of signed off on already, and then he got his position later on, blah, blah, blah." But I just there were a lot of decisions that, obviously go through him, and I don't think KK is the only one that we are to kind of blame. I'm kind of now starting to look at Dave, and I'm like, "Dude, what are you doing? Why are you allowing certain things to happen the way they are? Like, you should be the one that's first and foremost being like, no, this is not okay. You can't put this character in there. This storyline is not good. It can be improved on." But then,
Yeah.
he greenlights stuff like The Mandalorian season 1 and season 2. So I'm just it's very all over the place. I'm just still trying to get more intel, and then I can form more of a concrete opinion. But at this point, I would say, like Anakin said, my trust in him is shaken. And I don't know. I don't really know what to think. So kind of just waiting and seeing until more projects come out where I can kind of form more of a solid opinion.
That's fair. What are your thoughts on his projects where he is at the helm, where he is the lead creator?
Yeah, so anything that he does animated, I think is quite literally perfect. Um, I think the Ahsoka show, I was freaking enamored until the last few episodes. A little bit, a few questions with the World Between Worlds. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's a cool concept, sure, maybe in a fan fiction sense, but I think the whole idea of it is just kind of cheapens Star Wars in the sense like what happened with not Infinity War, Endgame, where it was just it wasn't Thanos, it was a different Thanos from another timeline, and I just think that just cheapens all of the work done. Where now you can go in there and you can pull Ahsoka out, or you can change timelines and events. And he keeps saying how it's not a place where you can alter time. He said it's not a place where you can go back in time. It's just a place where you see all of the events happening, but then yet again you can alter time and alter events. So it's I don't know, I'm not a big fan of that aspect of it. I think the final 2 episodes of Ahsoka were really poor. Um, I think there were so many things that were kind of just questionable, like, for example, the undead stormtroopers. They could have been killed in like 2 seconds, with just to throw a lightsaber with the Force, and they would have all been chopped in half down the stairs. I think the Morgan Elsbeth arc, I think that was pretty lackluster. I don't think it was really as climactic as maybe they were hoping. And I
Mhm.
think that just comes down to the villain in and of itself. I don't think she was really all that scary or imposing or overly powerful. I think if they had
No.
another villain on top of her and Thrawn doing his thing with the Navy, I think that would have made for a much more compelling story.
Mhm.
Um, But besides that, I think everything else was really great. Everything else was well done. But those things that really like tied it all together, I wasn't a fan of. So
Yeah.
I'm
Didn't
excited to
stick
see
the
season
landing.
2. Hey, what's that?
Didn't stick the landing.
No, I'm excited with season 2. I really, Balin's character was the highlight for me.
Yeah. Man,
Absolutely.
so good.
Yeah.
So good.
So I don't know what's going to happen with that going forwards. But as far as the Mortis arc and everything is probably my favorite part of the Clone Wars, and I really want to see how they tackle that in live action.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. That's going to be so good if it's
Yeah.
good.
What
that
what do
that
you
would be
what do
so
you
good
think?
if it's good.
Where do you think it's gonna go?
Dude, oh man, I could tell you what I want.
Yeah. Okay.
Um I think that they're laying the seeds for Hayden Christensen to return in grand fashion in some film down the line
Yeah.
as like an entity of some kind. And if I were them, I would raise up Abeloth as like a cosmic great level threat, something that would require like the chosen one's intervention. Um
Require Luke to
I
come in probably, and
Yeah,
then he's
Luke,
getting defeated,
Anakin.
and Anakin shows up as a Force ghost or something, and like kind of
Yeah.
just what we wanted to see maybe in the sequels, and we didn't, but
Mhm.
we could now, and that's why I
I'm
keep saying
thinking
this Mando movie, it could really be the first sequel trilogy, really the first sequel movie
yeah,
if you think about it.
I just picture in my head like a fanboy, like all powerful, full potential Anakin fighting Abeloth in like some mystic realm. I don't
Yeah.
know if that sounds cheesy to you, but like that sounds awesome to me.
No, man, I'm I'm freaking down. We I think are very fan fictiony, so I mean, I could see that
Yeah.
happening, and I'd be on board for it. I just want to have fun. I just want to have fun.
Oh, wouldn't
I
that be
want it to be
nice?
cool. I want it to look good, and I want it to make sense. So if they want to like throw us in some, I always said the next trilogy could be just in the Force realm itself because we know it exists.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
It's
true.
another
No, the
reality.
Star Wars is gigantic. That was one
Yeah.
of the reasons why I fell in love with it because like as a kid in the Clone Wars, you open up like what really is the entirety of the Star Wars lore and it is gigantic.
Yeah.
It is so much bigger than I think people realize.
Yeah.
Um
No, for sure. Um, I had that poster when I was a kid from oh gosh, what's that game? Was it Knights of the Old Republic? I just remember I bought a game and the poster of the galaxy came with it, and I had it up in my room, and I would like study it every day. Where Kashyyyk is, where all the planets are, and it is just freaking huge, man. They like
yeah.
George created a massive world. um,
He did.
that they haven't even begun to scratch the surface of, I think. So, if they can take all that money that they put in the Acolyte and put it towards, maybe, um, like a subsect of shows or smaller things, I think it'd be great.
So if you could do like say a limited series, like not a movie, not a full
Palpatine.
series,
Palpatine.
Palpatine. Oh
Yeah,
gosh, that'd
young
be so
Palpatine.
good.
Yeah.
Who would you cast?
Who's the dude who did, was it Michael Fassbender? Nah, he
He's
might be too
in.
old now, eh?
I know. Wasn't Matt Smith supposed to be young Palpatine in the Rise
Oh,
of
there you go.
Skywalker?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
perfect.
Matt Smith would be so awesome.
Yeah,
I
perfect.
thought that casting was inspired in the Rise of Skywalker, and I was so
Yeah,
disappointed that I didn't get to see young Palpatine.
I know. It's all we want. What would you want as a show?
All right. I saw this question a lot on Twitter, and I was very excited and hopeful that you would ask. I would do a limited series. It would be Hoth After Dark. It would take place entirely in Echo Base after the rebels have fled the Empire
Okay.
and they have limited resources. And originally in Legends continuity, the Wampa that Luke cuts the arm off actually
Yeah.
previously lived in Echo Base.
Yeah.
So I would love a creature feature of Wampas retaking a base and rebels trying to find a way off world.
Okay. Kinda like
That's
that
my
deleted
pitch.
scene where the Wampa goes in and he just and the stormtrooper, did you see that? The stormtroopers
I
go into that room and they get just eaten by the Wampa?
Is this an Empire deleted scene? I've never
Yeah.
seen that.
Yeah.
Dang. I
Yeah.
just took inspiration from the Battlefront 2, what's it called? It's called like Hunter mode or whatever, where you can either be the Wampa or you can be the rebels.
What? You can be a
Yeah,
Wampa?
you can. You can in the original Battlefront 2, and you
Oh, the
can
original.
go in. Yeah, you can go into Echo Base and mess the rebels up.
Oh, I didn't know this. That's really cool.
I just always I think it would be so eerie walking through the halls of Echo Base with limited light and like things are moving beyond you that you can't see. And it's
Sweet. Yeah.
completely disconnected from anything else. You can
Yeah.
tell your own story with
Yeah.
new characters, but it
Yeah.
has the location that's established before, and it gives you a different genre in Star Wars, which is
It's
what makes Star Wars so good.
like a horror movie kinda thing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have always thought that Star Wars worked so well that you can fit so many genres in it. I forget who said it, but they said that the first act of Return of the Jedi is like a pirate movie
The first
with Jabba's sail barge and the whole like,
Oh, the first act. Oh, yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's like a space pirate movie, for sure.
And I just love that you can take these other genres and fit it into Star Wars. But
Well,
if I could pick one, it would be the Palpatine thing.
that's the cool thing about it is, like, they can I mean, you could make a show on Hondo. It's literally a space
No, you
pirate.
could.
You
You
you could
could.
make a show on the Night Sisters if you want. Not hopefully not the sisters or the witches on,
Brendock or
from
whatever.
Acolyte. Oh god.
Oh yeah, from Acolyte.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no,
But,
that was frustrating. So I wanted to ask you another question. Um, what would you say is like your all-time favorite Star Wars comic arc? Like arc?
Vader in the Ghost Prison.
Vader in the Ghost Prison. Oh, see
Yeah.
that's one I'm not super familiar with. But I've read it, but it is why do you love that?
I just love the fact that, like, Vader that Palpatine is dying, and he's sick, and Vader is essentially the only one in command, but, like, kinda without Palpatine, he's just sort of lost in a sense, and he has to go back to the temple, and he sees the hologram of Anakin speaking to the Jedi Masters, like, during Revenge of the Sith, and he's just recollecting on everything, and I just thought that was just something I would love to dive more into and just see that duality between, like, Vader being Vader, but also knowing he is and was Anakin, and just kind of thinking about his actions and his choices, and we see a lot of this in Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader, the book.
Mhm.
Just when he was back in the Jedi Temple and he was just thinking to himself, like, about all of this different stuff, everything that went on there, and I don't know. It just for me, it tickles my fancy. I just think it's really cool to maybe because Vader's just so stoic and he doesn't really speak much, and we don't really know what's going on in his head after he became Vader. I just think it's pretty neat to dive into that whole thing and see how he deals with the decisions that he made.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
What
I do
about you?
like the quiet moments with characters.
Yeah, right? It's like you don't need
Yeah.
to have so much talking, like, you could just kind of observe someone's, movements and, like, kind of almost leave it up to the viewer to sort of hypothesize on what they're thinking, what the character is thinking. But that's why I love the comics because they kinda just go into different areas that we don't get to see in the books or in the movies or shows or games. But,
Yeah. They've really
what's
handled Vader pretty well. All
in the
comics, I
comics?
would say. Yeah.
I would say so. I stopped covering the comics because I felt like they haven't really they just went off on, like, a different end with Vader, and I didn't really like it, so I just stopped a few years ago.
Yeah, that's so oh, man. Those videos were so good.
Yeah, they were
You
fun.
should bring them back.
They were fun. I haven't seen you cover too many comic videos, though. I would love to see that.
Yeah, I'm more of like, I've been torturing myself with the original Tales of the Jedi comic. If
Hmm,
you've read those, you know that they could be, convoluted.
yeah.
But my favorite comic arc is in the Republic comics. It's the
Mhm,
Jabim arc with Anakin, where he is forced to, for the first time pretty much in his life, make a morally questionable decision where he has to decide between the people of Jabim and his men.
mhm,
And this is the first time where Anakin is really, cursed at and called something, he's called a monster and a
yeah,
murderer. And
yeah,
it really defines his trauma because the Clone Wars is set in place for Palpatine to gain
yeah,
influence over the galaxy, but it's also set in place to gain influence over Anakin.
yeah,
That's just as important to him.
yeah,
So the fact that, Anakin is forced with this decision and that these people are about to die and that he makes what many would consider to be the wrong decision and how that impacts him later is
yeah,
so interesting. In fact,
yeah,
in my notes during the Galactic Civil War, the Empire later invaded Jabim, and Vader was the one that oversaw the invasion.
yeah,
So he realized that the Jabim people did still hold a grudge against Anakin for
mhm.
abandoning them years later.
This is
And
so vaguely familiar. I'm trying to remember where is this from again?
Republic Comics 50 5 to 58 is the arc. It's where Anakin
Okay.
thinks Obi-Wan is dead, I believe also. I could that's all that could be a different arc though. Um
Oh, man, this is okay.
But
Anyways, please continue.
Vader actually orders an orbital bombardment of the people of Jabim, and
Yeah,
in an effort to like destroy the sin of Anakin. And like
yeah,
I have always thought that that was just so profound. And the
yeah,
important part though is that that does not happen because of Luke. Luke is able to stop the bombardment and save these people's lives. And
yeah,
it's just a really clear example of a decision to be better
yeah,
with Luke.
yeah.
So that's something that I love. That's a comic one I love.
I think you should cover a lot more. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into it. I've been more in the ancient Sith stuff because I got into like more of ancient Egypt recently, and
Yeah,
the aesthetics of the ancient Sith Golden Age Empire are inspired by ancient Egypt.
yeah.
Uh, in fact, that I learned something so cool. You know how on Korriban the Jedi and the Sith don't go to Korriban anymore because it's been looted,
Mhm.
the Valley of the Dark Lords.
Yeah, there's nothing there anymore. Yeah,
In ancient Egypt, the Valley of the Kings is also not explored very much at all because it's been looted so much.
yeah,
So I like the idea that to the Sith, they look at the Jedi as like these evil grave robbers.
yeah, essentially. Yeah, they do, and it makes you wonder, like, I think something that would be really neat to dive into is this whole, like, legends idea that, the Jedi temple was built on top of a Sith temple,
Oh my, I
and
just did a video on that.
I would love
Yeah,
to see that in I don't know, man, there's just so much they could really do. They don't even have to be creative about it. They could just take stuff from Legends that's pre-established. I don't know why they
you
don't do
could
this.
just take it. You could just take it.
Literally,
It's
they own
there.
it. They could just take it.
What are your thoughts of like the Lucas canon beforehand? And I'm not as well versed on this as you are, but like the idea that the Sith did control the galaxy for a period of time. That
Well,
it's
you know,
not like
I always say that the thing that I know for me the best is the first 6 films. Anything outside of that, it's like a hit or miss. Like some stuff I know decently, some stuff, you gotta research it, you gotta read books and I would say the stuff pre-Disney, I just enjoy that way more.
yeah,
I don't know why that well, I guess I do know why. Probably they made it, totally non-existent because they wanted to create their own stuff. But I think it would have been much smarter for them to just keep that as what it is, or at least create like well, that's what Legends was. Create like a Legends if they want, and we can acknowledge the fact that it is not canon or not even Legends in that timeline, but it's just like something fun, kind of like what they did with Visions, and
yeah,
that would open up so many doors for us to just kind of get a Star Wars what if, like um, we
that
could
would be so
do
cool.
yeah, we could do like animated episodes, kind of like Tales of the Jedi, but just really strange what ifs. Like anything they want. What if Darth Vader survived? What if Palpatine was a Jedi? What if Darth Maul was a Jedi? What if Qui-Gon survived? All this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and I think that would be so much more interesting and fun. And the main one I would want to see would be Starkiller, Force Unleashed.
Oh, were you getting nervous when all the rumors that Starkiller was going to be in Ahsoka and everything is like a throwaway Inquisitor?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, me
yeah,
too, dude.
yeah.
Because
I
Starkiller is
yeah.
important.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of Vader's apprentice and Anakin's apprentice fighting is, I think, really cool. But
That's really cool.
we all know that if they were to put that actually in live action, like they would have to have Ahsoka win, and so I just don't think that that's realistic.
Yeah. Oh,
And yeah,
that's
so
true. But because if you took the atom bomb that is Starkiller and you had him fight like Canon Ahsoka, oh my goodness.
oh my god, dude, people would just that'd be game over. That'd be
Yeah,
horrible. Dude,
no.
what the is this? This is a joke? Like what? Like Starkiller realistically would just be. I don't know where this information is from, but I remember someone said that George Lucas apparently said that maybe that Starkiller was supposed to be how powerful Luke would have been if he had trained with Vader from the beginning.
Interesting. I haven't heard that. I did hear that when they were making it, that it was like they wanted to make a Luke dark side foil, but I
Mm,
didn't know about the potential. The power, the line in The Force Unleashed that always gets me is when he's turning him into like the Hunter Starkiller at the end of the
yeah,
bad ending, and
yeah,
Palpatine says something like, "You could have been my equal."
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that in my mind was like, Starkiller is that strong? What?
I don't know. I don't believe anything Palpatine said.
No, you take it all as like,
Yeah, he just glazes everybody, man. He just like boosts everyone's morale, but just in the end, he just I don't know. He's a master manipulator. He just lies and gets what he wants, and then when he's
he
done with you, he's
does.
done with you.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so awful.
He's just a
Something
horrible
I've
person.
always something I've always admired about the writing of Palpatine is there's never really any attempt to humanize him whatsoever. And I've just always
Yeah,
appreciated that. It's like
yeah.
he's killing pedestrians in car crashes as a kid. Like, dude.
I know, dude. It's insane, and just like that's why I want that Plagueis novel to be a movie. And
Yeah.
I just
Oof.
realized that the background this whole time was I was not meaning to do that. So I want to change it to there we go.
Oh, nice.
Maybe that's better.
Classic.
Yeah, for this. I think that's good.
So what are your thoughts on the Mustafar duel when it comes to like Anakin and Obi-Wan besting him? Do you like it?
Anakin and Obi-Wan? What do you mean?
Yeah, like their dual. Like I know a lot of the part of Star Wars that I've been fascinated with for so long is like why there's no ABC logic when it comes to the duels. How like
Hmm.
people can have certain tricks and techniques that counteract others.
Yeah.
Um, and I have a friend who just loves Anakin more than just anything, I think. And
Yeah.
every time I bring up Obi-Wan, he's always telling me just to shut up and that he's the worst character ever. So what are your thoughts on like the duel and like the outcome of it? Because I
I
think it's brilliant.
Well, did you see what Nick Gillard said regarding the kind of the original or alternate death of Anakin?
I have not.
Okay, so it was originally supposed to be where Anakin says, "This is the end for you, my master," and he's about to take Obi-Wan's head off. And actually, let me try and can you hold on a sec? I'm just going to try and find it because I
Yeah.
don't want to paraphrase. It was really cool.
Nick Gillard's the GOAT.
He's just a really nice guy, man. Just like a
I
real
was
person.
I know you guys like linked up and I watched some of the video of you guys walking around and talking. I think you may have been in New York. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I know that Disney is getting I know their lightsabers are a lot heavier than they used to be because they used to be made with like carbon fiber or something apparently. And they could really be spun around. And I know Disney wanted like the lightsaber to actually appear in frame and light up, but that it sort of sacrificed the mobility of like how quickly someone can spin the weapon.
Hmm. I didn't know this.
Yeah, it's a YouTube short I watched. That's
Oh, that's
literally
kind of
all
cool.
my information. That's all my
I
information on that.
did I never upload the original? What the heck? Hold on. Anakin original or alternate death fight. I what? Well, anyways, if I can find it, then I'll send it to you. But essentially, it was supposed to be like he's supposed to say, "This is the end for you, my master," and Obi-Wan does this like he basically just like luckily moves out of the way and like chops Anakin in like several different positions. But it was never there was never supposed to be a high ground.
Oh,
That was never
interesting.
yeah, that was never a thing. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Do you think that it's just a coincidence that um I know a lot of people have made this connection that when Obi-Wan takes the high ground and he tells Anakin it's over, I have the high ground, that it could be a reference to the way that he defeated Maul in the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And that
I
it's like
love
a
that.
direct challenge to
Yeah,
Anakin of like, hey
yeah,
man, I did this.
yeah,
You can't.
yeah.
And
Literally.
it's
That's
just
literally
him.
yeah.
That's exactly what it means.
That's what I thought it I don't know if that was like George's thought process or not, but I'm pretty sure like that's I don't know. It just makes sense. It fits really well. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I
Like
love that duel so much. I think it's explained so well in the Revenge of the Sith novel. I love the little passage in the novel where it says every blow of Anakin's lightsaber is threatening to break Obi-Wan's arm.
yeah.
And then it just says, and then Obi-Wan thought to himself, oh, this is bad.
Yeah.
And then the chapter ends.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he also thought something like that in the novel for A New Hope where he's like
Oh,
he's
shoot.
just like getting absolutely destroyed by Vader because he's all cybernetic at this point. And he's just like, I can't
This is
handle
bad.
this. This is too much. This is not good. Not good. And so, yeah, I mean, dude, I the level of love I have for the prequels and how old were you when Episode 9 came out? You would have been
Well, 2019, was it 5 years ago? 22, 21, 22, something
Episode
like that.
1.
Oh,
Sorry,
I thought
when
you said
Episode 1.
episode 9.
Yeah, because
Oh,
I was
episode
9 years
1?
old in 1999. Sorry, Episode 1.
When episode 1 came out, I would have been 2.
Oh wow. So did you see the prequels in theaters? I guess you would
Yeah,
have been like
I saw
7.
Attack of the Clones in theaters and Revenge of the Sith. I don't think I saw the Phantom Menace, but I could have. My memories of the prequels were I thought the Geonosian arena battle was the coolest thing I'd ever seen as a kid. Um,
Yeah.
I loved the Accolade what's the species of like the bull? Do you know that off the top of your head? I don't
The
remember.
bull, the one that the reek.
Yeah, the reek. I
Yeah,
everybody liked the reek, but I thought that the accolade was so much cooler.
that
Uh
freaking spider-looking crab. Yeah,
yeah, and that's
yeah,
another mission that scared me in Battlefront too, where you had
yeah.
to like
Oh
fight
man,
them
those are
off.
free. Did you ever play? You might have been too young for this. It was Shadows of the Empire.
I didn't.
Pretty cool.
I
That was like the in thing in the 90s.
really
Yeah.
I remember playing The Force Unleashed 2 and thinking it was like the greatest thing ever, and then like opening I think it was some sort of browser and there was an article about how it was like the worst game ever made and just feeling so
Oh
dumb as
yeah.
a kid.
Were you well, I guess, do you remember much of the prequel hate?
I remember the end of it.
Mm,
I wasn't old enough to
yeah,
like experience it in real time, but like I'm a huge fan of the Red Letter Media videos, even if I disagree with a lot of them.
yeah,
Um, that's sort of where the prequel hate comes from. I don't love the Phantom Menace,
yeah,
but I've always thought that like the story of the prequels was just so inspired,
yeah,
and that you can sort of forgive any other small things that you disagree with or how it's conducted and just like enjoy the great expanse that is Star Wars because the prequels made Star Wars.
yeah.
Star Wars.
The way I look at that is like you're never gonna fully love everything. Like, sure, there's stuff I could take a look at with the prequels and be like, maybe we could get something better or something different. But it's what George wanted. It's what he wrote, and it was telling the story of Anakin at the end of the day. And I think it did a pretty good job at that.
Yep.
I was around for the hate in the prequels. Like I was in school and stuff, and like other kids were just like ripping on it. Probably what they hear from their parents or whatever it might
What
be.
was
But
that like? Was it a gradual thing or was it like a immediate reaction?
hmm, I think it was a gradual thing for me. I started to notice it more as time passed.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
always disappointing as a kid to like have the thing that you think is so great and then you realize so many people hate it.
I didn't care. I
Yeah.
don't know. I didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I hear people say that stuff, and I don't know. I never cared. I think because I don't know, but because I wasn't popular anyways, so I just figured what I like is what I like, and not everyone's gonna agree with that, and yeah, that's fine. It doesn't mean I'm wrong or they're wrong. It's just the way it is, and I just never really kind of um, put too much emphasis on it, really.
That's what we should all like strive to do. My relationship with Star Wars was always like my my father is into sports more than any human being that I've ever encountered. And he just thought that Star Wars and Marvel and all that stuff were so dumb and such a waste of time. So it
Yeah.
was almost like a secret thing.
Yeah. No, I understand that for sure. So I had that kind of the opposite where like my parents were like so in love with fantasy and sci-fi and all that stuff. So I was able to bond with them over that, and then people, friends and stuff I had online. But when it came to the real world, it was so unlike what it is today, where
Yeah,
it's like a fad. It's cliquey to now like Star Wars. My gosh, back then in the 90s and 2000s, man, dude, like you would never want a girl to know that you liked Star Wars.
really.
No,
Wow. See, that's
no.
so I feel so lucky. I definitely got the tail end of that. When I was in high school, it was not cool to be a nerd. It was not cool to be excited for like that stuff.
Yeah.
Especially I was on the football team because my dad just demanded it.
Yeah,
um,
cool.
so none of them wanted to talk about Star Wars,
Right,
but
right.
now they do, and I think that that is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, people change, their interests change. Now, that's also something I think the internet doesn't really understand. It's like you can change your opinions. You can, so I mean, it's a big deal. People change. Like Alexis on Fire is a band that I really liked as a kid, and there was this line, the times change and people with them, good or bad. So
Yeah.
it's just the way it goes. We're always evolving and changing. So it's not hard to believe that your opinion and taste on movies can change just as it does on people or food or your interests in life or whatever. So
What do you think the landscape's going to look like in another 10 years?
for Star Wars,
Yeah.
bro, um, I saw people asking that question a lot. Mm,
One day we're going to have to hand this over to like the next generation of Star Wars YouTubers.
how so?
Just like coming in a new era, coming in, not that you go away, but that you add and you expand. And like the way that they cover it is different.
Like other YouTubers? Because I mean, there's a new one every minute essentially
Yeah.
nowadays. A new Star Wars YouTuber every minute or TikToker or whatever it might be. When we started, well, when you started for sure, when I started, I noticed that there was nobody. It was just
Hmm.
the few of us, and I was like, I was the new guy, I was the new dude, um, and yeah, that was it, really. But now it's like everybody. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'll ever change the way I speak my mind, and honestly, I feel like you are not going to either. Like, I feel like you're just going to probably. I think now this is like you're like coming out of your shell arc, you know,
Yeah.
where you're maybe being a little more interactive with the community in a sense where um, you're just showing people who you are and your beliefs, and that's fine. It's not all about lore anymore and stuff because, dude, you are the OG. You have a huge voice. So I don't know. I think it's cool that you are speaking your mind about stuff now, and never thought Never thought that. Never thought that would happen. Feel like this guy's just like he just sticks to his craft. Just quiet, does his thing.
Yeah. I mean, just going back, it was like there's a certain line you cross where you have to say something.
Mm.
Um, and the line was crossed. Like,
Yeah, I think so too. And that's what kind of like. Anyways, to answer your question, what I think it's going to go in 10 years, um, it really just depends on what their motive is. Like, if they're going to keep going down this path of destruction, of just like hiring people in Hollywood to write certain things about Star Wars or take certain projects, I think it's just not going to do very well. I think it'll continue to just go on a decline. I think if they hire people who are not only competent writers but also passionate and respectful of George Lucas and not trying to pander to any sort of agenda or anything like that, but the only thing that they pander to and focus on is character arc, story, and characters in general. I mean, politics wise, I couldn't care less if it's an alien or if it's anybody with any color of skin or what not, what sexual interest they have. I don't care. I just want a really cool written character and a great story. And I think if they have people that focus on the fundamentals of storytelling, then uh, it's going to do very well. But if they keep going down this path, I don't think it's going to be good at all.
yeah. I just sometimes think, do they realize how much of a gold mine they are truly sitting on? Because, like you said earlier, you can just adapt legends and you can print money.
I don't know, bro. I think they think it can make a lot of money, but they don't know how. Like
Man, I
like I think they think, oh, we should do this and that, and like, but it's not that deep. Like, just look at the stuff that's already beloved so much. Like, I don't know, just take a comic issue and turn it into an animation. I mean, Son of Dathomir, for example.
that
Why
would be
have they
sick.
not done this? So
Or like
simple, so easy.
like completing all the like lost arcs from the Clone Wars, like the Sith Shrine, like you brought up earlier. Like
Yeah, or just make live action Clone Wars.
yeah, That would be cool. I'm just so perplexed by this because I look at Marvel and I look at the transition from comic to screen, and there the, attention to the source material is praised, and it's like held up and elevated, of like, we're making Spider-Man a street level hero, like stuff that has foundation that people have fallen in love with before. And Star Wars has that too, but they're just not doing that.
What do you think the issue is there? Like, what do you think?
I
What?
think the wrong people are in charge. I mean, I know that that's such a
Yeah,
really easy blanket statement.
yeah,
Uh,
but it's true.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I don't think they know what they have. I think they have Star Wars, but I don't think that they realize what the importance and the magnitude and the potential of this is. I think that they look at something that is easy to quick and turn around, and we're going to make a million stormtrooper toys and we're going to make a million Grogu toys, but that stuff is fading. If
Yeah,
you make if you commit and you make something good that you work hard on and you're well researched and you hire the right writers and the right directors and the
mm,
right actors, if
mm,
you invest in this property that you have already invested so much into, it will return. It may
yeah.
not be the immediate return that you want when you want to sell like your 17th stormtrooper variation, but it will eventually return.
This one's
That's how I
green.
feel. Yeah, this one's green. This
Yeah.
one has a red stripe on his left arm and not his right arm.
Oh, you know what I think it is? I think it's they're treating it like they'll treat any sort of major IP, and I don't know. Star Wars is just different. You can't do that. You can't
It's
just
different.
yeah, you can't just hire a writer and oh, there's the Force. Oh, there's guys with laser swords and this and that, and okay, cool. That's just the look of it. You know, there's so much more depth into Star Wars, and I don't think these people really understand, and I don't think they can understand unless they're so passionate about it, where it's like it affected their life in some sort of monumental way, where they would rather not make anything than just make something that's just shit, make something that just
Yeah.
isn't good. Um,
I think the tone
so
was really set with The Last Jedi, unfortunately.
I think
Um,
so too.
and I think that they made that bed and that they are refusing to get out of bed. So,
Yeah, I think so too. I think they really need to. Man, it's so simple. They could just make one little video and just say, "Hey, look, we realize that we kind of shit the bed. We made something that a lot of fans didn't like, and we thought it was going to be well received, but we're learning from our mistakes, and we really want all the fans to come together. We don't want this divide anymore. We don't want it to be Disney Star Wars. We want it to just be Star Wars, like what George Lucas intended. And we're doing our best to create something that all fans will like. And we hope you like our next project." Boom. So easy, man.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's all it takes. Just get Kathleen to say it or Dave Filoni, and at least people will have hope and they'll be like, okay, cool. Acknowledgement. Sweet. Let's move on and try to like get something that's good and akin to what George wanted. It's really not that hard, but
It
there's so
seems
much
being
ego.
like, yeah, it seems being like almost aggressive with the fan base is sort of baked into the cake, which is really unfortunate. I don't think that
Yeah.
like a big IP like this should be responding to fans in a negative way ever.
No.
If like
No.
ever.
No.
And I just it's really eye opening to think that like that's how it started, because the creatives behind Star Wars got, you know, upset with the fan base very early on in the Disney era.
Yeah.
And I think that that set the tone, and it was just so uncomfortable. It's just that 2018 Star Wars, I would call that uncomfortable, like an
Yeah.
uncomfortable era.
I agree. Yeah. How was that for you making videos and stuff? Like, were you just kind of perplexed at The Last Jedi and you're like, all right, well, where do we go from here?
Dude, I wanted to love it so bad.
Me too.
Um, I wanted to You know, when Luke Skywalker showed up in The Force Awakens, that meant something to me in my heart that I had never experienced in the cinema before,
Mhm.
because I had never gotten to see Luke Skywalker on the big screen before. And even though I grew up when the prequels
Same.
were coming out, the original trilogy was still where that was my love for Star Wars, because I had it on VHS in my room. And that's what I would pull out all the time. And I would watch it on like the tiniest screen possible on loop.
Yeah.
And to see Luke standing there, and to have Mark Hamill back, and the swell of music,
Yeah.
and the turning of like, I understand that the galaxy needs me again, and I may have made mistakes, but it's my time to pick up my father's lightsaber again and to be better.
Yeah.
Because that is what Star Wars is about. It's about being better despite, the hand that you're given, or the
Yeah.
hand that is taken.
Yeah.
um, and then for that to just to have this moment be so focused on this lightsaber being handed to this character that I care so much about, and the lightsaber is a representation of what came before and what can come later.
Yeah.
To have that be thrown away
Yeah.
behind you, I could not share my opinion about that on YouTube. I just was not able to. I just can't. I had to cope.
I was in denial.
Yeah.
I was in full denial, and I was just like, "Guys, there's a plan behind this. There has to be." Like, I just could not fathom that there was like I fully thought that they were trying to mislead us and to make us think that there's nothing left, there's no story, but they're gonna come up with something amazing. I was wrong. I put too much faith into them, and I was wrong. I I learned the hard way just like everybody else.
The
I wanted
stuff
it to
that
be
they
good.
did with Luke in The Last Jedi was just like not okay. And the stuff
You
they did with
know,
Anakin in The Rise of Skywalker, where like he's not the one to destroy the Sith, that hurts more for me, because the
yeah.
first one is a single character. The second one is the point of Star Wars.
Yeah, and I back then I was like in denial about that too. I'm like, you know what? It's fine because he gave her the power, and all the Jedi gave her the power, and I'm like, this was just stupid. I was just trying to
Yeah.
cope. The whole thing is just like it was seeing like the in real time, like looking back at how I was dealing with it, and perhaps you, and perhaps a lot of us was kind of like real time realizing that maybe they don't have a grasp on things. And it was so hard to believe the fact that this, IP Star Wars, like they don't know what they're doing. And then you start to when I started to see the actors themselves come out and saying like they didn't even know because the writers didn't even know, then I'm like, okay, well,
Dude, that's what was so funny. It's like you're gonna hold up a picture that says my theory sucks, and you don't even know what you're writing. Like, are you kidding me?
yeah, at least we have a theory.
Exactly. You don't know. They didn't go anywhere with it. That was the
Yeah.
most. I don't even need like anything beyond that. That is the ultimate irony of the
I don't know.
sequel
I
trilogy.
feel like that was a huge jab at like exactly what, at the YouTubers at that point. And I'm like, isn't this what you want? You want people to be talking about your product because they're so interested and they're so curious as to what you're about to create and do that and they're coming up with so many different theories and ideas. And lo and behold, they didn't even have any theories or ideas that they landed on. And it was left to
No,
interpretation. And at the last second, they brought Palpatine back. And once you come out of that hole, you look back and you're like, wow, they really did not have a clue what they were doing. And it was kind of just all last minute decisions and you realize this is just all a sham.
that's absurd that that's even possible. Like this
Mhm,
is the reality that we live in, but it's absurd that it's possible to purchase a franchise like this and to not have a plan. How is
mhm.
that possible with the
I know.
resources that they have?
I know, man. It's weird. It's super weird. It's like it's just Disney's just made it so corporate that there's no actual feeling in it anymore. It's just diluted and it's like having a beautiful meal, but there's you can't taste anything.
Yeah. How do you think I don't know how you feel about the Marvel movies. I'm just a nerd all around, but,
Yeah,
I saw Deadpool and Wolverine, and I thought that movie
yeah,
was awesome. And
it's
and I
fun.
wanna know, do you think that it's, like, possible to head in a direction like that? Do you think how many projects would it take to earn back the fans?
3.
Yeah.
I think 3 really good projects back to back. I still think many of them would never forgive Disney's for what they've done with Star Wars and the treatment that they've given to fans, labeling them all as racist if you don't like this or that, and
Oof.
I think that's so irresponsible, and it's just such an easy cop out that, like, you wouldn't expect that. You'd expect that for someone on Twitter who can't really, evoke their thoughts or emotions or anything, and they just kind of like label whatever is like an easy cop out. But for a massive company who's literally being paid because of every single fan, and I would even argue the ones that they label as not liking a new project or as racist are the ones that have been keeping the lights on more so than any of the new fans that they've brought in.
Yeah.
So I just think it's
Man,
kind of unfortunate in that sense.
for someone that cares so little about what their audience thinks, they're sure plugged into what their audience thinks.
Yeah, it's weird. I've noticed it too. I just hope it changes. I think they need better leadership. I don't think people there really know what they're doing when it comes to, um, I remember this line in Gladiator, you win the crowd and you win your freedom. And they're focused on maybe like one half of the crowd or, a quarter of the crowd or whatever, but that's just not how you do it. You want to create something that, let's say, it's not well received. You don't go out and then jab at them.
No.
You just man, it's just so easy. It's just public relations. It's just, um,
Yeah.
finding common ground with your audience or with your freaking customers, it's not very difficult.
Your fans, people that care about your product on a deep level. There are people that consume products every day, but to
Mhm.
produce a product that not only people are going to consume but to care about, you would
Yeah.
think that they would like put more effort into that as well. Because Star Wars is more than just a media franchise, and I'm sure they're well aware of that. And it just needs to be handled with respect and dignity and intent.
Mhm. I agree.
Oh
I
boy.
agree. I
I
think
think that 3 projects is a conservative number, by the way. I think that that's a really fair,
you want more?
to win people back. Oh, because I think what would we need to follow it up? It's like you have The Mandalorian and you have The Mandalorian season 2. Those are both really good, and I know that there were projects that were coming out, like, it wasn't consecutive, but I
Right.
think that you probably need more. And I
Right.
know that's unfortunate to say, but I think you need a really good series of films,
Yeah.
um, and good Disney Plus shows. I don't have a ton of interest in the Skeleton Crew. I'm going to watch it,
Yeah. But
but
it's gonna be fun, I think. I think it'll be, uh like I said, it'll be like a cute show. Nothing crazy. It's not like, my gosh, Tales of the Jedi, I felt like was just amazing. The Dooku episodes in particular, I didn't
I
care too
love
much about the
Dooku
Ahsoka
so
ones.
much.
Yeah, they were just so good. They need to do that again. Tales of the Empire sucked ass. I don't know what that was about.
I I have not watched I
Oh,
have not
really?
watched the Sith, the not the Sith arc. I have not watched the Witch arc of Tales of the Jedi. I know that that sounds crazy, but I haven't.
That doesn't
I
sound crazy. It's just, yeah, I mean, I don't
I
blame you.
watched I watched the Barris arc, which I didn't like. How many Jedi are gonna have a change of heart and be exiled and then be like hunted down? Like, how many times are we gonna do this? um, we did
I know,
it. You do it in a comic every other month. There's some
literally.
Jedi that survived that like is is now some leader. I was just watching like Eth Koth when Vader broke in, and now you're doing it with with Barris.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah, yeah,
comic is
yeah.
hard, by the way. I love that. I
Yeah, yeah, with the
someone
baby?
pointed out, yeah, someone pointed out in the comics, it's like, damn, Vader didn't even let that man hold his kid before he threw hands with
I
him.
know, I know. Wild. He's just, that's one thing that they seem to get right for the most part in the comics and books is Vader. But in the movies and
Yeah.
shows, I don't know, hit or miss a bit with
Hit or
Kenobi. I
miss.
felt like there were a few things that, they could have changed, but whatever. Hopefully they get it right. It just comes down
Did
to
he
who they
s
hire.
It does. I mean, yeah, I mean, you say that to Lucasfilm and they'll look at you like you're crazy. Like, it matters who you hire, and they're like, "What?"
They ever reached out to you?
No. Maybe early on, but not I don't have any real desire to,
Yeah, yeah.
because if I feel like I would have to
Mhm.
become something that maybe I don't wanna be, because I
Yeah,
really value my YouTube channel because it's mine,
yeah,
and I know you probably feel similarly that when you introduce those outside, influences that the game changes, and I don't
totally
want the game
does.
to change in that
Totally does.
way.
Yeah, because, then you sign contracts and stuff, and then you're kind of beholden to.
A boss.
Yeah, like someone who is going to be approving the things you say, and God, I don't want that. I
Yeah.
don't want
I
that at all.
love being able to wake up and, like, write something on a topic of lore that I like, or have my buddy write a script and,
Yeah,
record it,
yeah,
and then, like, being able to share it with people. That is
yeah,
where I get
yeah,
my joy. I
yeah.
don't get a ton of joy if I got a message from Lucasfilm, that would be phenomenal, and it would be a great honor, but it wouldn't be why I love YouTube and why I love Star Wars YouTube, if that makes
No,
sense.
yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, in the beginning, it's all I want. When I was a kid, I wanted to work at Lucasfilm. That's like when George was still around. I wanted to make lightsabers in the movies. That was my first job, dream job. Whenever someone would ask, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Kids are saying
Yeah.
firefighters and astronauts. I'm like, I want to make lightsabers. They're like, what? Like, yeah, like in movies and stuff. They're like, oh, cool.
I
Um,
think one day you're gonna be in a room with Lucasfilm, and I think that there will be, an attempt to, you know, consolidate their losses in their future. I think that that will happen. I'm gonna make that
mm,
prediction now. I think that money talks, and I think that as the
mm,
biggest Star Wars voice on the planet, bigger than Lucasfilm, that your input will be valuable to them one day. And I would hope that if that day ever comes, maybe later down the line, I could also give some of my input. But I do think for you specifically that that will happen.
oh, dude, if that ever happened to me, I would be like, hey, here's my terms. I want my boy Stupendous in there, or else no deal. And they'll be like, oh, okay, yes, sir,
Yes,
no
sir.
problem. We'll call him up. Like, call him up right now. You okay? Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, I mean, that's I'm a firm believer that if I don't want to say rise to the top, it just sounds stupid because it's like I don't like the idea of like a company, I needing a company or something to rise us to the top. Like we kind of do our own thing, and whether we're on the
Yeah,
top or
totally.
whatever, we just do our own thing and whatever. That's for the community to decide. But and our subscribers. But yeah, I mean, if anything like that were to happen, man, I'm a firm believer in bringing my friends and those who support me and stuff with me. So
I
um,
think it will happen. I think it will. Money talks, and
yeah, I
Star
guess.
Wars is not the money making machine that it once was. So I think that that's going to happen.
No, no, it's not.
I
I,
think
I I
that
think I don't know. I don't know.
you would be open to that, of course. So I mean, like, right? What are your sort of your thoughts about if they reached out and they said, "Hey, man, like, let's figure it out, figure it out, figure it out," not email discourse, not Twitter discourse. What if we sat down?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, sure.
I think I would too. I
I,
wouldn't.
I will I will talk to anybody. Even my biggest hater. I'll I'll talk to them, man. I'll talk to anyone. No problem. I think communication is really important.
Yeah,
But yeah, but yeah, uh,
that's my
sure,
hope for the future. I
sure.
think it's going to happen.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, but um,
The good
I
thing,
just
though, is that you don't need it to happen, and I don't
no, and
think
that
either of us do.
no, no, not we don't. And that's what I was trying to find my words to say was like I don't. That's not what I'm like. looking for. I just want them to
Mhm.
hire competent people so they can give us cool stories that we loved when we were kids and make us feel like kids again instead of destroying the suspension of disbelief kind of thing. And I don't know. I just make good Star Wars. It's not, that's it. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
Would you, if they were called you and be like, "Hey, like we love your work. We want you to work for our media team, and you create videos for us, and what?" And then they start. What if they started to create a channel or just do it on their own channel of like lore content, which I've seen them start to do over the years. And
Really?
yeah, have you not noticed this?
I try super hard to, like, get offline after I'm
Mm.
done sometimes, um, because I just find my mind going to places I don't want it to go to,
I don't
but
blame
that
you.
that is scary, if they are trying to, create these lore-based channels that they themselves are running. uh I think that they better get a grasp on the lore in the movies that they're making before they start making YouTube videos about it. That would be my advice.
Yeah, that'd be nice, eh?
'Cau
Jesus.
Yeah, like, don't the irony of, like, why the Jedi haven't seen the Sith in 1,000 years. Also, watch the premiere of The Acolyte where that thing happens, like, ugh.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's kind of like why they brought the Phantom Menace back into theaters so that they could advertise the Acolyte.
Dude, I didn't even think about
You didn't
that.
know this? That's why they did it.
No.
Yeah, they showed like an exclusive clip at the beginning or some crap.
I'm definitely gonna catch Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith in theaters. I didn't go to The Phantom Menace, but I will be catching those.
We should do it together. That'd be cool.
That would be so
That'd be
cool.
fun. I'll fly
Have,
up.
like, a conversation after?
Yeah, well, yeah. I wasn't even thinking like on video. I was just like just hang out.
Yeah, no, that would be
But,
cool too.
but yeah, that'd be fun. Um, yeah, it's coming up, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
Revenge
this
of
a
the
lot,
Sith.
man. I appreciate it.
Oh, me too. Yeah. What do you think about doing a pod together? I guess
I am all for it. If
you
if
down?
this will
Yeah.
be my avenue for, you know, a new arc, as you put it, I think that that would be really cool. I think our insights are similar and different enough to create interesting conversation.
I think so too, and I like the fact that we've just kind of both been around long enough, and we are the biggest out there, which is nothing to sneeze at. I think I take great pride in that. I think you should too. And
You
you
should.
paved the way for me and a lot of us. You showed people that it was possible, and man, I think if there's one good thing that came out of this whole cancellation thing or deplatformation thing was the fact that you and I actually like linked up after 8 years. So
Yeah,
I'm
no,
happy, dude.
it's me too. I'm very happy. I've always thought, highly of you, and I've always thought that your videos were very good, and that, not interacting was never anything personal with anybody that I choose not to or to interact with on the internet, if that makes sense. It's all about my boundaries, I guess. And boundaries change, and boundaries break, and boundaries move. And I think that my boundaries moved recently.
No, and I appreciate that. And in the beginning, I didn't know anything about this community at all. I was so new to it, and I grew so fast that I was just making fake friends and stuff like that. And I didn't. You just believe things that people say, and you're just like, oh yeah. And I didn't know anything about you, but I would just kind of sort of believe what people would say who didn't, or I guess, were jealous of you. And I'm just really happy that I get to now know who you are and talk to you. And I'm just happy and thankful that this whole thing happened because maybe now I have a new friend out of this and someone who kind of like understands everything that I go through on like a work YouTube level and then hopefully just on a personal level too. So I'm looking forward to growing our friendship, hopefully.
Yeah, me too, man. I mean, we're Star Wars fans. Like, that's if
Yeah,
there's no better way to start a friendship than over Star Wars. I truly
no,
believe that.
that's true. So Yeah, to everyone watching, I hope you enjoyed our first time meeting. It was unscripted, and we just kind of went with the flow. And I guess we'll start a podcast now. We'll figure out the details and let you
Absolutely.
guys know, and do live streams. Be fun. So
Thank you for having me on. Thank you for the audience for your time. That is very meaningful, and I am super excited to hear what you guys have to say about everything we talked about. That's like my
yeah,
favorite part of YouTube.
yeah, yeah. We'll be reading the comments. So leave your comments below, guys. The Stupendous Wave. Go check them out if you haven't already. And yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one.